what's been the most rewarding experience besides the whole wrestling gig, but also for being in the NFL, being a part of the Atlanta Falcons and the Georgia Bulldogs especially, such accredited teams, must have been, quite a ride.
I got two older brothers who played major college football, and ever since, my one brother's 16 years older than me, and the other is 18 years older, and so as I was a little kid, I was going to their football games. And so I aspired to be nothing other than a pro football player. That's all I ever wanted to be. To be able to attain the dream of playing high school football, major college football, and then going on and playing sparingly in the NFL, that was a dream come true. That was absolutely the coolest thing I've ever done. And to this day, I say that the best movie I ever did was The Longest Yard. It wasn't because all the people in it. It was because I got to put the frickin' pads on again and hit. So it was awesome.
Awesome movie. I love the movie to death.
What was your sort of favorite moment on the field?
Favorite moment on the field? Oh my God. Let's see. Favorite moment on the field would have to be when I played. You forgot to say it, but I played for the Sacramento Surge, also in the World Football League. In between, I got cut from the LA Rams. That's how long ago it was, ladies and gentlemen. They were in LA. I got cut from the Rams, and then I went in the spring league in the World Football League, which was like the D League or the AAA of the NFL at the time. And there we were able to win the World Championship. I played under Coach Kay Stevenson, who was the coach of the Buffalo Bills. Our defensive coordinator was Jim Haslett, who now,
He just got fired from the Redskins.
Yes, he got fired, but still, he's been in the league for a number of years. He's been, D coordinator, and then my defensive line coach was Jack Youngblood. So the experience of playing in a league like that, winning a world championship, and having a good time at the same time, it didn't feel like work. That was the difference between that and the NFL. That was probably my best football experience.
That's amazing.
That and making Emmitt Smith cry because they only gained 23. We are in Florida, though. You guys don't like University of Florida. You like the UM, right? So I could talk bad about Emmitt Smith, right? There you go.
It's all about the U down here.
Exactly. Go Dogs!
So did you have like an individual experience on the field, like a hit or something that ever really just stuck with you?
Yeah, I hit a guy in the World Bowl. We were playing in Montreal. I hit a dude in the World Bowl, and they captured it right at the moment when my helmet hit his chest, and the ball was about 15 feet in the air, and it was that perfect hit that you always dream of.
Nice. That's amazing. Also, I'm very much aware, as you just told me, that you're also you have your own dojo. Is that correct?
It's not a dojo. In Muay Thai, it's a Muay Thai training facility. Dojo, yeah. Martial arts, yeah.
Training facility.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about that, please?
When I first prepared to wrestle over in Japan, I knew it was a much stiffer style in Japan, and it was something that I always dreamed of doing, was being able to be big enough in the States to be able to go to Japan and represent the United States and be able to kind of bang it out with those guys. And so I had taken martial arts on and off, whether it be Aikido, whether it be Russian Sambo a little bit, throughout the years. I mean, I owned a dojo in Atlanta in '98, which was the largest MMA gym in the world at the time. It was, 40,000 square feet. The guys who are the pioneers of MMA that you guys know used to train at my gym. The Mark Coleman's, the Don Fry's, the Kevin Randleman, they used to train out of my gym. And so I've always had a big passion for it. Obviously, you guys know my character came from, morphing a 300-pound guy with a martial artist, and a little bit of Mike Tyson thrown in. And so I've always had a passion for it. So fast forward to when I was going over to Japan, I lived in San Diego, and I wanted to take some private lessons for Muay Thai, because as we all know, the style of Muay Thai isn't kind to people that you do it upon. So I trained with this guy at 3 months, 4 days a week, and we became very good friends. Unfortunately, his business, got into some turmoil financially. I came to his aid. I figured, if I help the guy out, then I've got a place to train for the rest of my life. And when I have a son, then I've got, an agent, a crew that can train him for the rest of his life. I don't derive any money from it. At the end of the day, it's a peace of mind thing for me. So I still train 3 days a week. I picked it up because I'm training for this movie that's upcoming. And, yesterday, or we did an radio interview last week, and we threw it out there that I was looking for a Muay Thai gym to train at, and American Top Team stepped up and threw an invitation out. And so yesterday, man, for 2.5 hours, I got to hang with, King Mo and Justin Portier and,
the big names.
Bigfoot Silva and Lawler and, Kimbo's down there. Everybody's down there. Conan, the big Conan, the heavyweight jiu-jitsu fighter in the UFC. For me, I'm 48 years old, but I'm very competitive. I'd love to compete every day of my life. So that, and it's my way of getting my frustrations out and staying in shape and being on top of my game. And I go to Goldberg on Twitter and go to Goldberg95 on Instagram and watch a little bit of the training yesterday. It was pretty humbling. It was a lot of fun.
I'm definitely going to do that. Michael, do you have any remaining questions?
Why don't we throw it out to the fans?
You ready? All right, guys. If you guys want, we have a microphone set up right in the very middle right there. If you have any questions for Bill Goldberg, please step right on up. More than welcome.
And nothing is off limits except for the fact that realize that there's only 2 ways out of here. And if you ask something that I don't like, I can still catch you.
I think we got one guy coming up. Yes, we do.
Hopefully that doesn't make you hesitate to ask a question.
Like 50% of people just leave right now.
Exactly.
It's on, yeah.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for coming out, dude.
Hey, man, I'm one of the reasons why I came out right there.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Bill, just a quick random question. If you had to spear anybody right now in the WWE, who would you spear?
Oh, Hunter, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely.
Just curious about that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. You guys have heard me say it before. He and I don't really see eye to eye when it comes to business, and they got this little thing against me, and it's all good, man, because I quit for a reason. Yeah. I quit for a reason. Those guys, the way they do business up there has a lot more to do with little clicks than the reality of trying to make a lot of money. Because if they had the reality of making a lot of money, I'd be there kicking everybody's ass right now. So,
And one last thing, you notice when I don't know if you know Ryback. Okay, when he comes out, people still cheer, chant your name. So we still love you, man.
Man, I appreciate that very much. And I got to tell you, in the beginning that kind of pissed me off. But the fact is that anytime any of you guys would still recognize me for what I've done, for the person that I am inside the ring, and most importantly outside of the ring, I'm very honored. It's truly the reason why I did it. The reason why I went to the WWE is because everybody stopped me on the corner and asked me when I was getting back into the business. I knew what I was out for, business-wise, with those guys, but I did it for the fans. And it was a tumultuous year. It really was. But at the end of the day, the reason why I got into wrestling and the reason why I wanted to play football to begin with is because I wanted to be a superhero for the kids growing up. I wanted to be a role model. I wanted to be someone that they could look up to and be proud of. And so, thank you. And so at the end of the day, that's why I'm appreciative that somebody still remember who I am and they chant my name on TV. Man, it's a huge honor.
So
thank you, buddy.
So with that being said, you had a short time in the WWE, but you were in a lot of big events and stuff, big matches. Did you have anything there that was particularly rewarding, or was it all just kind of a grind?
It was a grind. It was, the way I can describe it is 90% of my time at the WCW was like playing college football. It was passionate. It was everybody, except for a few, banding together for the common goal of making as much money as humanly possible and kicking the WWE's butt. That was it. Going to the WWE was much more so like going to the NFL. It was work every day. It was a grind. It was, you got to deal with the management. You got to fight against the management. At the end of the day, you don't know if there is a common goal. So, You know, it's a totally different experience for me. But there were some good times. I mean, hey, hanging with The Rock, you know, having him, you know, put me over my first match there. You know, Rock and I got a special relationship. You know, when the hurricanes hit, you know, right when I got into WCW, one of the hurricanes hit down here, and Rock knew my mom lived down here, and he called and asked if there was anything I could do to help. I'd never met him before. And so that shows you what kind of heart he's got. And that's how our relationship started, and that's kind of where it is now. But, you know, Austin was cool. I mean, there were a number of guys up there that are cool, but, you know, at the end of the day, the experience was too businesslike. There was not much fun really derived from it.
Okay. Next up.
Yeah. Hey, Goldberg.
How you doing, sir?
Awesome, awesome. You definitely are the favorite WCW wrestler.
Thank you, buddy. Very much, man.
Yeah. Speaking about that, can you agree that WCW's worst year was in 2000?
Man, you know, I've been hit in the head too many times to remember certain dates. 2000. I mean, when did WCW went down in what?
Like I think 2001. I believe.
2001. I mean, it was at the end of my tenure there, and prior to the company going under, it was different, man. It was a totally different landscape. You had guys, you had people that weren't trustworthy running the company, and seemingly, you know, Vince Russo having ulterior motives. You know, some of the stuff they came up with at the time was absolutely ridiculous. And then you have the upper management, the owners, you know, with the merge from AOL and Time Warner, you know, trying to get rid of the program behind Ted Turner's back, and that's not a good situation. And so we felt the animosity trickle down to us. And so, yeah, it was a pretty crappy time, that 2000, you know, and when WCW folded, I was sitting at home watching on TV when they had that show from Panama City. I was hurt. You know, it really wasn't anything for me to do. So it was a pretty crappy time. Yeah, 2000 was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I just want to say that when I started watching in '99 and around 2000, I couldn't watch any WCW. When I flipped to that channel, it was just not great. I just couldn't bear to watch WCW. I just watched mostly just WWF when it was WWF back then. But again, WCW wasn't my big favorite wrestling company, but you were the top wrestler I would watch in that company, along with Sting.
Well, thank you very much. Sting was a huge influence in my career. You know, Sting probably had more to do with me signing to WCW than anybody did. So, I mean, he was a great guy to look up to and to kind of pattern myself after. And if he could look himself in the mirror and do what he was doing, then by damn, I could do it too. So thanks for watching, man. Yeah. Sorry it wasn't good enough for you in 2000, but there was still some ass kicking going on, but that was
just
worthy of television.
Yeah, mostly '99 is where I started as well. But there's some in '99, but that 2000 year just couldn't bear it too much.
It's all good, man. Yeah, can't please everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime, man. Thanks for coming.
Have a good time at the con.
You got it, brother.
All right, on to the next one, please.
Hey, make sure you tell everybody where we're going to be, man, in the booth. Because you know what? Tell me where I'm going to be, because I don't even know where I'm going to be.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to see Bill Goldberg, get autograph, get picture opportunities with him, he's going to be at the very far side of the con, towards your right. He's going to be with a bunch of other wrestlers, Shane Douglas, Al Snow, to name a few. Ron Simmons is here also.
All my buddies.
And, all his buddies are here. So if you guys want to see Bill Goldberg and shake his hand and talk with him a little more, please welcome you right on the on your far right side of the con. So that'll be there right after this panel.
Who's next?
How you doing, Mr.
Say that all day.
The pun's already.
I don't know.
How you doing, Mr. Goldberg?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
You're a living legend, sir.
Thank you, friend. Hey, tell everybody what's your name.
My name's Raymond.
And you're from?
Miami. I'm originally from Hoboken, New Jersey, but raised in Miami.
Nice. Well, good to have you here, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Two things. One of the saddest days of my life was when they tased you and took the title.
That was on my birthday, dude. How sad do you think I was? That was my birthday.
I almost gave up.
How many of you, hey, by show of hands, how many of you knew that was on my birthday? See? Now, doesn't that suck, like, big time for me? I mean, I lose.
That's horrible.
My heart dropped for you. My heart dropped for you.
But yeah, it was. I almost gave up completely on wrestling after that day.
Me too.
But I stuck in there. Second thing, you're an inspiration, and around that time I had a bully that used to, and I wasn't the type of kid to confrontation and everything. But to tell you the truth, after that loss, I broke his nose, never was bullied again.
Everybody give him a hand!
Yes. Yes.
And that's thanks to you, sir.
Hey, thank you, my friend, very much, man.
Yes.
Good job. Good job. And you know what? Anything ever happens again like that, you got me? You're awesome, man. Thank you very much. Okay, let that be a lesson to everybody. Always stand up to a bully, period, end of story. And if you got a problem with one that you can't rectify, call me. Because I don't have much to do except a podcast and train 3 days a week, and I need some more sparring partners. So I'm begging you, call me.
Up next, please, sir.
Hey, Mr. Goldberg.
How you doing, sir?
So, quick question. What's your prediction for McGregor-Seaver on Sunday?
Ooh.
I finally watched some tape on McGregor, and he's very well-rounded. He's a guy who can definitely back up his game with his in-cage work. There's no doubt about it. He's got a hell of a tough opponent that's not going to be fazed at all by any of his in-ring antics, by no stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Does Seaver have enough? Does he have enough tools? Is his strength and his ground and pound going to be enough? Is his chin going to be enough? I'll be honest with you, man. Right now, I'm looking at it as a toss-up because McGregor needs to step up, and this is a big. If he loses here, his dream is done, squashed, and obviously Dana won't be very happy either because all the money and attention they've been putting in him. But on the flip side of that, I agree with what they're doing with him. But at the end of the day, in a non-scripted event like MMA or kickboxing or Muay Thai or anything like that, anything can happen at any time. And his opponent, isn't a rookie by any stretch of the imagination, nor is he a pushover. So I'm very much looking forward to the fight, man. I think it's in my opinion, it's a toss-up right now.
Right. 7-1 underdog right now, so it's good money. Huh?
It is what it is, man. Yeah.
That's the hype. And then one follow-up. What are your thoughts on CM Punk's emergence in the UFC?
In what respect? Overall, from his standpoint, from the UFC standpoint?
How successful do you think he can be with his age and experience?
It's going to be very hard for him to be very successful. I don't know. It's hard for me to pass judgment on anything. It's hard for me to give my strong opinion on something if I don't have all the details.
Yeah.
And no one knows how much CM Punk is trained. Nobody does. As nobody knows how much I've trained. I just posted yesterday a couple pictures of me at American Top Team. Well, I just told you that I've been training Muay Thai since I started wrestling in Japan, correct? Mm-hmm. No one knows that. Okay, but I don't document it, I don't put it out there, I don't advertise it because it's nobody's business. I do it for enjoyment and I do it as a stress reliever. CM Punk could be doing the same thing. Only his best friends are going to know how much he's trained. Only CM Punk knows if he's ready. Now, it takes a guy with humongous cojones to do what he's doing, regardless, and especially if he's not prepared. Yeah. He's got to catch up to his mic skills with his in-cage skills, like, instantly. Yeah. Training with Rufus, is it a great move? Hey, he's with Anthony Pettis up there. Yeah. Rufus definitely knows what he's doing. He's not a ground guy by any stretch of the imagination. He's a stand-up guy, and CM Punk needs to work on his stand-up more than anything, as does Brock, as do all those guys. I wish him well. I don't know CM Punk. I've never met him. I've never watched him. I like what he has to say. I can empathize wholeheartedly with what he went through at the WWE. So I'm in his corner, man, and I believe that it was a good decision by the UFC. They took a chance, but if you're a huge MMA fan like I am, you remember the Pride days, you remember the grandioso entrances, you remember the mismatches, the Conseco versus Hongman Choi and Hoist against, Akibono. Yeah. those things, it's like a real Street Fighter game. It's like a video game. For me, that's the excitement of the sport.
Yeah.
If you got to inject that excitement with bringing a CM Punk in, more power to him.
All right. Thank you.
You've got it, man.
Next question, please.
Can I take this out?
No, if you.
No?
Yeah, take it around. Take it wherever you want, man.
Okay, cool. First of all, I didn't know what I wanted to ask you at first.
Well, then hand it to the next guy.
No. I got it. I figured it out. I was waiting, a little bit of time, but I was thinking it would be cool to talk to Bill Goldberg, but I am an aspiring, wrestler in the future, so I was wondering if you had any advice for somebody like myself.
My advice to you is to hone your craft. Be anal retentive about the details. If you see someone does that you like, that you want to grab, make it your own by changing it and being unique. When I got into the wrestling business, no one had ever speared anybody before, to my knowledge. But something as simple as that came an overnight success. So find something that you're comfortable with, find something that you're good at, but make sure it's unique, make it your own, and own it. That's all I can tell you.
Thank
And
you.
work your butt off.
Oh, yeah. But by the way, just because of you, when I was younger, I destroyed so many pillows when I was younger.
That's good. That's good. Thank you very much, man.
Right.
You can raise that up if you want, man.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, sir, and you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Two quick questions. First one is, are you liking the podcast world?
Podcast is all right, man. I'm not from the beginning, it's something that for me has been very difficult because I don't think you guys are here because of my NFL days. I don't think you're here because of my love for motorsports. I don't think you're here because of my love of martial arts. You're here because of my love of wrestling, my involvement in wrestling. Unfortunately, after 32 episodes of my podcast, I've only had 2 wrestlers on the show. There are a number of wrestlers that have podcasts, and they're extremely successful because what they do is they give the fans what they want. I apologize for not having wrestlers on my show, but I didn't have a very long wrestling career. I don't have those stories with those guys. I don't have the relationships with those guys. For the most part, I was an outcast. They had a resentment against me coming from the NFL and making it to where I made in such a short period of time that I felt very guilty for, and I still feel very guilty about it. But the fact is that I wasn't close with a lot of guys, and I don't currently watch the product, and so therefore if I was to interview wrestlers on my podcast, I wouldn't have a lot to talk about, especially about the current product. So I talked to my buddies Jim Kelly, I talked to Tim Brown. We had dinner at Randall Hill, Thrill Hill last night. He's going to be on the podcast. Strahan's going to be on the podcast. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Hoist Gracie. I think this week, Tuesday, Hoist will be on the show. Mark Coleman, Don Fry, Gary Goodrich. I've got ties with people in different entities that really are very important to me, and I have relationships with them, and at the end of the day, I can treat them just like I treat my little buddy Louie here. I can rag on them as much as I want, and for me, I believe that that's entertaining for people who would never see a Hoist Gracie like that, would never see a Dale Earnhardt, would never see a Jim Kelly like that. Jim Kelly's from the U, CT Fletcher. The one I had with CT is probably the most popular one I've ever had. He's an unbelievable guy. He doesn't have anything to do with wrestling. But so to answer your question in an extremely long-winded answer, it's something that I jumped into knowing that it was going to be difficult for me. But I have a good time doing it because I get to rekindle the relationships with my friends. And every single person who's been on my podcast hasn't been called by a group of people that work for me. I pick out my phone and I go through my Rolodex and I look at my friends and I call my friends because that's what the podcast is for me. So there you have it.
All right, thank you. This last question. Let's just say you were in MMA right now. Which fight would you like to beat up first?
Who'd I like to beat up first? Wow, an MMA right now. Well, I'm
King
40.
Mo.
Kimbo?
No, King Mo.
Oh, King. No, man, I trained with King Mo yesterday. I can't beat him up. Plus, it's a different weight class. Man, I'm 48 years old. The last thing I'm thinking of is trying to enter MMA right now. But if I was, man, yeah, I'd have to say John Jones. You know, he's a great champion. Well, excuse me. He's a great fighter. He's the new breed of fighter. He's an all-around superstar. He's athletic as can be. But he needs to learn how to treat his public. He needs to learn how to present himself. He needs to learn how to, after a win, to show class as opposed to being, you know, a dingleberry all the time. It's a maturation process that he needs to go through. And you would have thought his brothers would have taught him. But hey, at the end of the day, in the heat of passion, you know, things can happen. But I think he needs an ass whooping is what he needs. But I couldn't do it.
All right, thank you, sir.
You got it.
On to the next question, please.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Nice mask. I like that.
Thank you. I try.
It's good.
It's
you
like
wear
Tom-
it well.
Thank you. It's like Tom Brady if he was like down on his luck. Anyway, so 2 questions. Number 1, what is your favorite match that you've ever been in?
Favorite match I was ever in was, God, for myself. I mean, the Dome, man, wrestling against Hogan. Yeah. As far as the match content, Halloween Havoc against DDP.
Yeah.
You know, I was in there with an absolute pro. Not saying Hogan wasn't a pro, but as opposed to Hogan going into the match, DDP had a 14-page flipping novel for me to look at, where he wanted me to spear him, I think, 112 times before I beat him. But he's a perfectionist. I mean, DDP is a guy who's mastered the craft of mind games and you know, storytelling. And you know, Hogan, I walk in with Hogan and he says, "Oh, I'll call it in the ring, brother." I've been in the business 6 months. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I mean, looking back on it, every match I had with Scott Steiner for me was the most awesome experience because, you know, unfortunately I would slip up every once in a while and maybe tag somebody. Well, he'd hit me back. And it was a war when he and I went. When I dropped him with the left hand, broke his orbital in I think it was a battle royal or something. And you look back on it, and I dropped down immediately, and I didn't care if it was on TV. I felt horrible, but he was one bad dude, and he still is. And anytime you get in the ring with Steiner, you don't know what's going on, but it's quote unquote believable, and that to me was the most important part. I won't lie and say that, you know, picking up the Giant all the time wasn't fun, but.
We only got time for about 2 more questions, so we got to get it moving a little bit. So the next person, please. But thank you for your question, though. Really great. Thank you so much.
How's it going, Goldberg?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. You're the reason I came out here, man.
Thank you very much, brother. It's good to have you.
Thank you. My question is, back in Starrcade 99 when you lost the title, how did you feel about losing it, not only because it was on your birthday, but because that's when Kevin Nash took over as booking?
You know, I mean, I had my feelings about it, but it was probably sour grapes. At the end of the day, I'd only been in the business for a short period of time. If you look at my second match when the Barbarian belly-to-belly suplexed me from the top rope, that gives you the idea that my thought process was, why reinvent the wheel? I didn't know the wrestling business, so I followed everybody. I followed everybody's lead. Look at the Regal match. I let him do anything he wanted to me because that was my spot. I followed the older guys, the guys who, you know, put people in seats before anybody knew who Goldberg was. That was my responsibility to follow, not to lead, not to question. So I didn't, you know, sure it was tough for me, but I mean, who am I to say? I'm just a guy trying to do his job.
Right. Thank you. Oh, you know Raven is here, right? So.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna take him on again for the United States title?
No, it's all good. He doesn't have it anymore, nor do I. And we're friends. You know, us Jews got to stick together, man. There's not many of us in the deal.
Thank you, Goldberg. I appreciate you,
My pleasure, man.
Right,
shoot, brother. Quick.
Thanks for coming out, Mr. Goldberg.
Hey, man, my pleasure.
Question. As a fellow martial arts enthusiast, besides training, what's your, regimen like? Because you look damn good for 48, and I want to look that swole one day.
Thank you, man. You know, truthfully, then people look at me and they're like, Goldberg, you know, you're so small compared to, well, here's the deal. I'm 48 years old, And I don't wake up in the morning and eat 18 egg whites and a half a pound of bacon anymore and drink a half a pot of coffee and go to the gym for 3 hours. I got an 8-year-old son that I wake up with every morning. I feed him, I eat with him, and I take him to school. And that's my responsibility. That's what I do. When he's off to school, that's when Daddy goes to work. I either do my podcast, I try to eat as good as humanly possible, but the reality is the calories that I expend in the ring, sparring 6 or 7 or 10 rounds a day, or training for 2 hours, taking private lessons, it's hard to keep weight on, man. And my cardio is at a spot where it's never been, ever. And that's the key, is just continually working your butt off. The way to balance out a bad diet is to train your ass off. And I don't care about what I look like, I care about how I perform. And I'm bigger, I'm much faster, I'm much more flexible, I can go for days now. And I don't care if I'm 48, because I can still knock people out with one punch. And so for me, it's a way of life. Everything I do is surrounds my training now. So eating is a big part of it. I eat every 3 hours. I try to get as much sleep as I can. I take calcium, 3 times a day for my shins. Set a goal, do whatever you can to stick on the regimen that it takes to attain that goal.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure, man.
All right, this is going to be our last question for this panel, so this gentleman has the floor.
All right, Goldberg, longtime fan, shalom.
Shalom.
Question, you said you kept away from it a little bit, but were the locker room politics frustrating for you as well in professional wrestling?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like being on the football team and watching the fraternities around you plotting against you. That's exactly how it was. So for me, that's why I was never in a fraternity.
All right, thank you,
I don't
Bill.
play that game.
All right, thank you, Bill.
You're very welcome.
All right, that about wraps up this.
Hey, let the
Q&A.
little girl ask me a question.
Okay, little Harley Quinn. Okay.
Please.
Did you ever wrestle any girls?
Did I ever wrestle any girls? Well, let's see here. I wrestle with my wife, who's a stunt woman, all the time. As much as I can. But no, darling, I didn't. And that's one of the reasons why I left wrestling, because I didn't like any interaction negatively towards women or kids or anything like that on the TV, and I didn't want to be a part of it. Anytime a guy would slap a girl or act like he was, accosting her or something, that made my stomach turn, because it just was the wrong thing. And at the end of the day, it's a soap opera, and it's pre-planned and everything, but for me, no, darling, I would never do that.